dined with you, danced with you at Tramp nightclub in London. She went on to have sex with you in a house. You think it is you next to her in the photo?
Oh, it's definitely me. I mean, that's a picture.
Breaking news doesn't creep in quietly. It explodes. It slams into the internet like a siren screaming in the middle of the night, and suddenly everyone is wide awake, refreshing feeds, whispering, gasping, asking the same question at once. And this time, the name at the center of that digital firestorm is Meghan Markle. Again. But this isn't about speeches, charities, or royal snubs. This is darker, messier, and far more uncomfortable. A leaked recording, allegedly private, allegedly accidental, allegedly from an elite American club where powerful people gather under dim lights, pretending their words dissolve into jazz music and expensive liquor. But words don't dissolve, they linger. And in this recording, a voice rumored to belong to Prince Andrew casually tosses out nicknames. Meg, Soho, like they're harmless jokes. Except they're not. They're sharp, they're loaded, they scrape against old rumors people were told to forget. The kind of half-joking, half-venomous lines that make your stomach tighten. And just like that, the internet erupts. Days later, Harry and the children are suddenly gone. No sightings, no statements. Then, as if this story wasn't already dripping with unease, Ghislaine Maxwell speaks from prison, pulling Meghan, Andrew, Marcus Anderson, and Soho House straight back into the spotlight. As if that wasn't enough, an anonymous staffer from Royal Lodge steps forward, and then Marcus Anderson himself allegedly drops something nuclear, medical documents hinting at a secret pregnancy. Meghan responds, not directly, but sideways. Gender rumors, deflections, noise, everything except a clean answer. And the question hanging in the air is terrifyingly simple. If this is only what's being released now, what's still being held back? English, auto-generated. Print. In the elite world, nothing is more dangerous than a conversation people assume will never leave the room. That night at the club looked ordinary to anyone watching. Soft lights, low laughter, glasses clinking. Prince Andrew stood near the bar, still wearing that practiced royal posture even though scandals had already stripped most of the shine away. He looked like a man clinging to relevance, scanning faces, sipping scotch, pretending control. Then Marcus Anderson approached, smooth, polished. The kind of man who knows exactly how to smile without revealing anything real. Owner of Soho House, gatekeeper to a world built on access and silence. These two men weren't strangers. They'd crossed paths at enough exclusive gatherings to share history, secrets, and a mutual understanding of how things really work behind closed doors. At first, it was harmless. Work, society, the usual meaningless chatter. But alcohol loosens tongues, and Andrew's smirk slowly changed. His voice dipped, his words sharpened. He spoke of connections, of someone who had risen to Duchess status. Back then, he said, things were very different. And Marcus laughed, not warmly but knowingly. A laugh that suggested shared memories neither wanted publicly unpacked. They talked about seating choices, about how she always knew exactly where to sit, next to whom, how close. Calculated down to the centimeter. Andrew swirled his glass and mentioned how she hated her full name, always insisted on Meg, softer, warmer, intimate in a way that made men weak. Marcus didn't deny it. He leaned into it. Meg, he said, that's what she wanted at Soho. That warmth made things easier, especially when she knew exactly how to please the right people. His laugh was loud enough to draw glances, then quieter, bitter. After getting what she needed, she denied everything, pretended it never happened. Andrew laughed openly, mocking the transformation. From Meg, willing to do anything, to a flawless duchess living authentically. Their laughter blended into the music. No one noticed the phone left on a side table. No one realized history was being recorded. When the audio leaked, it spread like wildfire. Headlines screamed. Was Meghan hiding a Soho past? Did Harry know? Was Marcus more than a friend? Meghan sat alone in her Montecito mansion, scrolling, panic tightening her chest, hands shaking so badly she had to put the phone down. But the storm wasn't done. While the world speculated, Harry wasn't there. Conveniently, or suspiciously, he was in Los Angeles for solo meetings, trying to build something separate from the royal shadow. And that's when the package arrived. Plain, brown, no note. Inside, a worn leather diary from a former yacht crew member, stories from 2012 to 2014, parties at sea, champagne, moral lines blurred, Meghan, or Meg, appearing repeatedly, laughing with Andrew, disappearing into private cabins, not outright accusations, just enough detail to poison the mind slowly. Then the USB, photos, chronologically ordered, Meghan and Marcus at Soho House events, always together, eyes locked, bodies close. One image froze him, Marcus's hand on her waist. Her smile too intimate to dismiss. She had told him Marcus was just a friend, just industry, but repetition doesn't lie. Harry returned quietly, packed the kids, left a short message, "We need time," and vanished. The absence screamed louder than any statement. Then came the next voice. From prison, Ghislaine Maxwell, speaking through an intermediary, dragging old names back into the light. She described Meghan as ambitious, hunting opportunity, introduced into Andrew's world deliberately. Andrew was a door, Marcus was a network. It wasn't romance, she implied, it was transaction. And when Marcus was no longer useful, he was discarded. And just when people thought it couldn't get uglier, an anonymous Royal Lodge staffer stepped forward. Summer 2016, Garden Roses, a tense conversation between Meghan and Andrew. Not friendly, strategic, warnings about Marcus, about photos, about damage. Andrew listened. Days later, he met Marcus privately and delivered an ultimatum. Silence in exchange for survival. And Marcus agreed, for years, until he didn't. When Meghan's PR machine struck back, sexuality rumors, deflections, redirecting blame toward Andrew, Marcus snapped. And that's when the medical record allegedly surfaced. Late 2015, Meghan's name, a private London clinic, emergency contact, Marcus Anderson. A pregnancy handled quietly. No follow-up, no explanation, just paper, cold, unemotional, devastating. Marcus didn't shout, he didn't cry, he simply said he was done protecting lies. And Meghan, she said nothing. No denial, no lawsuit, no carefully worded statement, just silence. And silence in this world is loud. It roared across social media. If it's fake, why not sue? If it's a lie, why stay quiet? Harry stayed hidden, holding the kids, reading headlines, wondering if his life had been one long performance where he never read the full script. Meghan remained in Montecito, surrounded by luxury that suddenly felt like a cage. When silence stretches too long, it stops being strategy. It becomes confession without words. And the question now isn't just what happened back then, it's what happens next. Because in the elite world, secrets don't die, they wait. So tell me, after hearing all this, do you feel shocked, betrayed, or just tired of illusions shattering? Share your thoughts, because this story isn't over. It's just cutting to the next scene. And while the world kept refreshing, waiting for a crack in that silence, the atmosphere around Meghan grew heavier by the hour. Silence is never empty. It fills itself with suspicion, with imagination, with the darkest versions of every rumor people ever half believed. Every time her name trended without a denial attached, the weight doubled. Friends stopped defending her so loudly, allies went quiet. Even the usual celebrity crowd that loved vague supportive posts suddenly had nothing to say. Inside that Montecito mansion, the quiet must have felt unbearable. No children's laughter echoing down the halls. No Harry pacing, arguing, questioning. Just screens glowing with headlines, each one sharper than the last. Why won't she speak? What is she hiding? Is silence her final strategy? And the thing is, Meghan had never been silent before. Not when criticized, not when accused, not when cornered. She always had words, carefully chosen ones. And now, nothing. Meanwhile, Marcus Anderson wasn't enjoying some triumphant victory lap like people expected. This wasn't revenge fueled by ego. This was bitterness fermented over years. Years of swallowing humiliation. Years of watching her rise while he was erased, reduced to a footnote she pretended never existed. And when the media twisted him into a caricature, mocking his sexuality, stripping him of credibility, turning him into a convenient distraction, that was the final insult. This wasn't about gossip anymore. It was about erasure, about rewriting history so cleanly that he never existed in it at all. And that's why what came next wasn't loud. It was precise, legal, cold. No emotional interviews, no teary confessions, just documentation placed carefully into the public record, like a chess piece slid across the board with absolute confidence. He didn't need to argue, he didn't need to convince. The paper did that for him. The public reaction wasn't just explosive, it was personal, especially among women who had once defended Meghan relentlessly. Women who saw her as a symbol, strength, independence, outsmarting an ancient system. And now they felt foolish, duped, embarrassed. Online forums filled with posts that sounded less like gossip and more like heartbreak. I believed her. I defended her against my own family. I feel stupid now. That kind of disappointment cuts deeper than anger. And Harry? His silence was different. It wasn't calculated. It was hollow. The kind that comes when you realize the person you trusted most might have curated reality for you as carefully as she curated it for the world. He didn't issue statements. He didn't deny. He didn't defend. He disappeared with his children, and that spoke volumes. Because a man who once burned bridges, countries, and bloodlines for love doesn't walk away quietly unless something inside him has shattered completely. Picture those nights, hotel room lights dim, phones buzzing endlessly on the table, headlines screaming questions he doesn't know how to answer, holding his children a little tighter, wondering which memories were real and which were staged, wondering if he ignored red flags because he wanted the fairy tale too badly. That kind of doubt doesn't scream, it sinks in slowly and poisons everything. Back in Montecito, the luxury didn't protect protect Meghan anymore. Expensive walls can't block public judgment. Every carefully curated photo from the past now felt like evidence under a microscope. Every smile questioned, every timeline re-examined. People replayed interviews, freezing frames, analyzing pauses, reading into words that once seemed harmless. And still, no response. PR experts debated endlessly. Some claimed silence was her last weapon. Others whispered that legal options were exhausted, that speaking might open doors she could never close again. And maybe that's the truth. Maybe silence wasn't confidence. Maybe it was containment. Because once certain stories surface, you can't unring the bell. You can't explain them away with inspirational quotes and victim narratives, especially when paperwork exists, especially when people who stayed quiet for years finally stopped caring about the consequences. And the cruel irony? The more she stayed silent, the more powerful Marcus became without saying another word. The deal Andrew once forced into place was dead. The fear that kept everyone obedient evaporated. Silence had flipped sides. So now the question isn't whether Meghan will speak, it's whether it even matters anymore. In a world addicted to spectacle, sometimes the loudest ending is no ending at all. Just unanswered questions hanging in the air like smoke, impossible to clear. Because when someone builds their entire identity on controlling the narrative, losing that control is the ultimate collapse. And whether Meghan chooses to speak tomorrow, next month, or never, the damage has already etched itself into public memory. In this world, silence isn't empty. It's a verdict people deliver on your behalf, and right now, that verdict is still echoing. Verdict.